Since the start of farming, weeds have always been a challenge to producing a crop. And for most of the Corn Belt's history, managing weeds was a time and labor-intensive process involving crop rotation, cultivation with tractor implements, cover crops, and eventually the targeted use of chemicals as part of an integrated strategy. But in the 1990s, the agricultural, biotechnology, and chemical company Monsanto developed the first corn and soybean varieties that could tolerate the effects of herbicides. This technology was a game changer. It meant farmers could spray herbicides on their fields, killing weeds in one pass without damaging their cash crop. These herbicide-tolerant crops simplified weed management for farmers, but it came with a catch. Every year, farmers had to purchase patented herbicides and the accompanying herbicide-tolerant seed. For the past few decades, herbicides have become the predominant method for managing weeds in corn and soybean fields. As of 2020, herbicide-tolerant varieties were planted on 89% of corn acres and 94% of soybean acres in the United States. As farmers have come to rely primarily on herbicides to control weeds, and as the sheer volume of herbicides applied has soared since herbicide-tolerant crops were first released, the weeds themselves have been adapting. As of 2021, 263 weed species have developed resistance to herbicides, many to multiple types. And while herbicide manufacturers have introduced many new products over the last few decades, most rely on just a handful of biological processes or enzymes for disrupting the vital life functions of weed plants. Because a single weed plant can produce thousands or millions of seeds, the few individuals in a weed population with natural resistance can quickly take over. Cover crops can help farmers manage these problematic weeds, disrupt the cycle of resistance, and rely less on purchased inputs. Routinely used for a variety of benefits before the advent of herbicide-tolerant crops, cover crops aren't meant to be harvested. Rather, they cover the soil when it would otherwise be bare. In the springtime, cover crops also make it harder for weeds to germinate, grow, and compete. In the Corn Belt, one commonly used cover crop is winter cereal rye because of its ability to survive the Midwestern winter. Rye is planted and germinates in the fall, then goes dormant until it's warm enough for the plant to start growing again in the spring. Cash crops, such as corn or soybeans, can be planted into the rye even while it's still alive and growing. As the young cover crops are starting to grow, they can compete with early season weeds for resources such as water, sunlight, and nutrients. Many farmers opt to kill the cover crop before it gets too big, usually with herbicide. This is typically done around planting time. It could be before, during, or after. And because most farmers in the Corn Belt use a herbicide to kill weeds in their fields at this time of the year anyway, the process of killing the cover crop does not necessarily require more herbicide use. Once killed, the plant matter decomposes and forms a layer of mulch, blocking sunlight from reaching the soil. As a result, weed growth is inhibited, and the few weed seeds that do germinate are smaller and weaker. The resulting weeds compete less with cash crops for resources, but perhaps more importantly, they create fewer seeds themselves and require less herbicides to be killed, meaning those weeds develop resistance to herbicides more slowly. As herbicide resistance in weeds continues to mount, with increasingly dire economic and environmental consequences, some farmers are successfully integrating cover crops to manage weeds on their farms. Not only are they spraying herbicide less often, they're saving money and are less reliant on increasingly expensive inputs.